Where we going?
Hi.
Hey, Kyle.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, bro. Thanks for letting us do
Hey,
this,
no worries, man. It's my pleasure.
I brought this for your management. How long you worked here, man?
My whole life. This is my grandfather's place.
No way.
Yeah, you probably knew him. Alan?
I did know Alan.
Yeah, you probably know my dad too, Matt.
I know Matt.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm his son.
Oh my
Third
God,
gen.
man. I haven't been back here since when I was 9 years old. I was officially diagnosed with a whole bunch of learning and attentional disabilities. After that diagnosis, my mom and I came here to this restaurant to go over the report that came from the school psychologist. And it was filled with negative words about her son. Language like Jonathan had executive functioning deficits. Jonathan had phonetic awareness disabilities. Is hyperactive with moments of inattentiveness, poor handwriting, below grade level phonetic awareness, consonant blending and spelling, executive functioning deficits, organizational challenges, speech problems. She read it out loud, maybe not knowing what that meant to me. And as my mom read that report, I turned to her and I said, "Hey, Mom, am I normal?" And my mom said, "You know what? Normal sucks." You know, books matter to me for a lot of different reasons. One of them being that they were always so kind of inaccessible to me for a long time. But this book right here maybe mattered the most. This is a children's book called Leah the Late Bloomer, you know, for like 5 years old or so. My mom used to read this book to me every morning because it's about a lion that can't do things, has a hard time, and then blooms later in life. Sort of proves them all wrong. So I've had a copy of this book with me my whole life. You know, took it to college, moved to New York with it, moved from New York to LA with it. You know, it sits here because I think it's a reminder that you never know what somebody can do. It's gonna all come out with missing words and who instead of how, and you know, the wrong there, and it's just gonna be a mess. And so what that means for me is I gotta get a lot of help, you know, and that's all good. You know, my journey of change and healing, because that's what it was. I mean, I had a plan for suicide when I was 12, in large part because of messages I got about myself being less than and deficient because I didn't fit that middle of the bell curve. So as I started to think about what constitutes healing, you know, it was important to understand that, you know, the processes, the ideas, the language that was used to sort of constrain my sense of self and damage my sense of self came from somewhere. You know, I went on a mission to really understand the origin of my experience. And one of the most transformative things I learned was that normal hasn't always been normal. It has a history. Not of discovery, but invention. The word normal did not enter the English language until the 1860s. It was used historically first only within the academic discipline of geometry. It meant to be at a right angle, which is interesting because to be at a right angle implies that that's something that is good and right and true. Normal really came on the scene during the rise of industrialization and standardization. So there's a Belgian statistician named Courtelet who became obsessed with taking statistics and applying averages to human affairs. That's what starts to dominate our places of work, dominate our schools, dominates our view of the world. Normal is a suburban, white, straight, able-bodied dude with 2.5 children. And that 2.5 gives you the insight into how that is a statistical abstraction that cannot exist in the world.
Look at David, how straight he stands, with his glossy hair, his good color, his broad chest, beautiful feet with small ankle bones and fine arches.
Kids who end up on the wrong side of normal in school.
The case of Bob.
He's a disturbing element, frequently clowning and talking out of turn.
They find themselves with something called an individualized education plan. It's a file.
He's an unhappy child and is avoided by other children.
Surveillance file.
He insists on helping with the housework and with the cooking. He plays only with little girls because he says boys' games are too rough.
Immature. Psychoneurosis with conduct disorder. Fearful. Mixed psychoneurosis with depression. Stutters. Disruptive. Gifted but destructive and provocative. Possible organ
spelling,
neurosis.
executive
Diagnosis
functioning
of severe
deficits,
case.
organizational challenges, speech problems. What am I doing? Taking a right, I imagine?
Lincoln, yeah. To the left, to the right.
Dude, left and right, man. Don't stress about it.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Left and right, who and how. Hey, man, we'll get there. You know, when I went to college, I told nobody about this, the learning and attentional issues. When I got to Brown, which is, you know, a fancy Ivy League school, we had this transfer orientation where you went around the room and you said where you transferred from and what you did the summer before. Well, so everyone's just, oh, I went to this fancy school, I had this fancy job. And, you know, here I was, you know, the poor white trash kid, couldn't read until he was 12. I was like, I have no place here. So I remember literally pulling out my phone and texting my mom saying, you know, I think I have to come home. What's the purpose of education? To make the round peg fit the square hole? Essentially produce uniform human beings. That was the purpose of education in a standardized economy, to turn out widgets in factories. Or is the purpose of education to identify individual talent, because everybody's got something right with them, something that they're good at, something that they can contribute, and to nurture and grow that individual talent, interest, and passion. When I was a kid, I'd look around the room and I would find the words on posters or signs and only write sentences with those words so I didn't make a mistake. And that led to this dumb it down cycle. I'd never got my ideas on the page. Educators thought that I didn't have ideas to get on the page, and then I started acting like I didn't have any ideas to contribute. One day in 6th grade, my teacher had assigned us to write a story, and I was paralyzed. And my mom came up to me and said, hey, Jonathan, why don't you just tell that story to me? And I was like, you can do that? She was like, of course you can do that. What do you think human beings have been doing since the beginning of time? Telling stories.
I'd like to introduce Jonathan Mooney.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon. Wow. How y'all doing? I didn't learn to read until I was 12 years old.
He wrote his first book before graduating from
I
college.
told I was the bad kid for one simple reason, and that's because I couldn't sit still.
But most importantly, he's known for giving voice to those who have been silenced.
I have something called dyslexia. Anybody ever heard of dyslexia? Yeah, I got a little dyslexia in the house. But I want to start today with the question of why do we accept the fact that school sucks and sucks big time?
We tell every kid they're a special snowflake, and then at some point in their education, we tell them, now stop being different. Over 50% of people in creative jobs have some sort of neurodiversity. Those strengths don't come despite the difference, they actually come because of the difference. If we got rid of the genes that were correlated with ADHD or dyslexia or Asperger's or autism or depression, human beings would be less creative, less entrepreneurial, and less successful as a species because they go hand in hand.
And I'm going to end on this note. I think that normal people suck. My man likes that in the back.
My mom was right. Normal does suck. The only normal people are people you don't know very well. So celebrate the difference and accommodate that difference. That's my through line for healing and transformation. And it started with my mom right here.